Would you embrace something that is certain to make you a better thinker? Stay tuned. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And we are continuing our series based upon the book by John C. Maxwell, How Successful People Think, noting that there are different chapters to being a good, successful thinker. There are different traits, different ways of thinking. Today, we're going to embrace the lessons of reflective thinking. You know, if you're like most people in our culture today, you probably do very little reflective thinking. If that's the case, it may be holding you back much more than you think. Take to heart some suggestions to increase your ability to think reflectively. First, set aside time for reflection. As we've already said in one of our other videos, and I wasn't the first one to say it, Socrates told us that the unexamined life is not worth living. But for most people, reflection and self-examination, it doesn't come naturally. It can be a fairly uncomfortable activity for a variety of reasons. They have a hard time staying focused, they find the process dull, or they don't like spending a lot of time thinking about emotionally difficult issues. But if you don't carve out the time for it, you're unlikely to do any reflective thinking. You've got to make it an intentional activity. Second, you have to remove yourself from all distractions. As much as any other kind of thinking, reflection requires solitude. Distraction and reflection simply don't mix. It's not the kind of thing that you do well near a television, in a cubicle, while the phone is ringing, or with children in the same room. To keep growing personally, you must intentionally not only set aside time to reflect, but separate yourself from distractions for short blocks of time. Somewhere between, 10 minutes and 30 minutes. What I do is I wake up, I set aside that time every morning, sitting in my comfortable chair. No distractions, no noises, just quiet thinking time. I call it quiet thinking time. John Maxwell calls it reflecting time. Whatever you want to call it, it's got to be intentional. You've got to do it every single day. The place doesn't matter, as long as you remove yourself from distractions and interruptions. Here's one that I hadn't thought of, okay, but I'm going to add it to my repertoire, which is regularly review your calendar or journal. Most people use their calendar as a planning tool, which it is, but few people use it as a reflective thinking tool. What could be better, however, for helping you to review where you've been and what you've done, except maybe a journal? Now, I keep a journal, and I call my journal Talk Thoughts. Things that I want to talk about, things I want to find out more about, things I want to talk to people about. I'm not a journal in the regular sense. I don't use writing to figure out what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. Instead, I figure out what I'm thinking and feeling, and then I write down significant thoughts and action points in my Talk Thoughts. Now, sometimes instead of just writing it, because if thoughts are coming a mile a minute, you don't want to interrupt the flow. Once again, let me give you this personal tip that I use that I found very successful, is take the phone, text yourself, hit the microphone button, and then just record your thought, and then you can move on and keep your momentum going. Now, as to the action points, I immediately execute some form of the action points, or I delegate it if it's something that the company's going to do. I delegate it to somebody else. Calendars and journals remind you of how you spent your time, show you whether your activities match your priorities, and help you see whether you're making progress. but they also offer you an opportunity to recall activities that you might not have had the time to reflect on previously. Okay? I have the quiet thinking time. I'm thinking certain thoughts, but this is kind of a new way for me. It's like, you know what? I forgot to think about that. This way, it's sort of a checklist so you can see, like, did I think about that? Okay. Some of the most valuable thoughts you've ever had may have been lost because you didn't give yourself the reflection time that you needed. Fourth, asking the right questions. The value you receive from reflecting will depend on the kinds of questions that you ask yourself. The better the questions, the more gold you're going to mine from your thinking. When I reflect, I think in terms of my values, relationships, and experiences. Here are some sample questions that you might want to ask yourself. As far as personal growth, what have I learned today that will help me grow? How can I apply it to my life? When should I apply it? How about adding value? To whom did I add value today? How do I know I added value to that person? Can I follow up and compound the positive benefit that he or she received? How about leadership? Did I lead by example today? Did I lift my people and organization to a higher level? What did I do and how did I do it? How about on the personal side of the balance sheet? Your faith. Did I practice the golden rule? Have I walked the second mile with somebody? How about also on the personal side, marriage and family? Did I communicate love to my family today? How did I show that love? Did they feel it? Did they return it? How about the people in your inner circle? Your inner circle, the people you hang around with the most, the people you're working with the most. Have I spent enough time with my key players? What can I do to help them be more successful? In what areas can I mentor them? How about things that you discovered? What did I encounter today to which I need to give more thinking time? Are there lessons to be learned? Are there things to be done? How you organize your reflection time is up to you. You may want to adopt some of these patterns in your own life. The main thing, though, is to create questions that work for you and write down or capture any significant thoughts that come to you during the reflection time. Remember, this reflection time, this quiet thinking time, is also the corridor between you and the universal mind, things that you label intuitive. Sometimes it's a message from the infinite partner. Keep that in mind. Fifth, cement your learning through action. Writing down the good thoughts that come out of your reflective thinking has value, but nothing helps you to grow like putting your thoughts into action. To do that, you got to be intentional about it. When you read a good book, as an example, there's always good thoughts, quotes, or lessons that you take away from it and that you can use yourself. Do you mark them down? Do you keep track of them? When I listen to a message that I'm recording, do you jot down the takeaways? Do you stop the tape and write the things down? I do that all the time. Sometimes it'll take me an hour to listen to a 15-minute video. When most people go to a conference or a seminar, they enjoy the experience. They listen to the speakers, and sometimes they'll even take some notes. But nothing happens after they go home. They like many of the concepts they hear. But when they close their notebooks, they don't think about them again. When that happens, they receive little more than a temporary surge of motivation. When you go to a conference or a seminar, revisit what you heard, reflect on it, and then put it into action. One of the best things to do is on the drive home from the conference or the seminar is to already be doing one of the things that was recommended in the conference or seminar. That gives you momentum. It creates inertia. It allows you to get more value out of the fact that you attended the conference or seminar. It can actually change your life. Reflect on it and take some action. Always say to yourself when you come out of a seminar, on the way home, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to think one thought. I'm going to put it in stone that I'm going to take one action at least. And then what happens is you get so much more from that time experience. Ultimately, reflective thinking has three main values. It gives you perspective within the context. It allows you to continually connect with the journey, your obsession, your burning desire. And it provides counsel and direction so that you can help plot out your future. It's an invaluable tool to your personal growth. Few things in life can help you learn and improve the way reflective thinking can. Remember, it's an intentional act that the 95% crowd cannot find time to do. For the 5%er, it's the cornerstone of their day. Once again, huge shout out, John C. Maxwell, How Successful People Think. And always remember, don't ration the passion, fashion the passion. I'm Eli's dad.